for $330 per month, and the next rebalance is happening in the 20th of August. And our third webinar sale, again, is the long-time subscription for 12 months. You can choose any package that you want, and you get the AI portfolio for $209 per month. And I think, again, it's one of the most interesting and exciting webinars and webinar sales that we had so far. All right, Yaron, tell us about our choice.
So for the next month, actually, you convinced me about the XHB. It's very interesting industry right now. So I think it's making sense to monitor the stock picks that the AI is identifying from this specific industry. It's very cool to see that Warren Buffett is using I Know First services in order to find opportunities here. And on top of that, I would suggest to utilize the AI-powered portfolio. And again, it's interesting to see the choices there. Basically, the algorithm here is focusing on the most predictable stocks. It's in some months we saw very high return. Right now in this month we are a little behind the S&P, but I'm looking forward for the new portfolio and to see the choices.
Yep. My choice was actually I also wanted the XHP, but you stole it from me, so I actually chose the S&P 500 package, which also interesting because you get from different universe, if it's the technology, if it's XLY, the retail, or many other sectors. The S&P 500 holds the biggest companies, the more stable companies. And I think it's an interesting time for this specific package. And of course, the portfolio, which bring us the best out of the best from each and every package. I don't think we can miss that. So those are my two choices for the following month. And in a few more slides, we're going to see what the algorithm actually picked and what he thinks about the next month, and what are the best sectors to be in for the following month. All right, but before that, we're going to talk also about the other side of the map, the short side. Yaron, you want to talk about that?
Yep. Yes. What's interesting about this algorithm is that it's actually generating also sometimes in some conditions in the market. It's providing a very important indicator regarding corrections in the market. And we have seen it in 2020. By the end of February, we started to see negative forecast for the S&P 500, and also the strongest signals came from the bottom of the heat map. But we don't need to go 5 years in history. We can also see the predictions by the end of March 2025. Back then, again, we started to see negative forecast for the S&P 500, and the strongest signals came from the bottom of the heat map. And now all the top 10, top 20, and the top 5 packages include S&P 500 forecast, the index forecast. And if I can add an additional option for the packages that I think relevant for the upcoming period, I do suggest also to consider to receive the top 10 or the top 20 package because of that important element, this opportunity to get not only the stock picks for both long and short, but also to get insights regarding the direction of the market. Right now, actually, Ben is going to talk about the updated S&P 500 forecast, but I do suggest to receive this indicator on a daily basis.
Yep, and we also saw it in the markets in 2025. The algorithm gave us a really good prediction and good heads up in 20th of February before we saw the big drop on the S&P. We could find the volatility was up and the S&P index was red, as well as the 1 month forecast that we saw that was also red from the S&P of the Nasdaq. Both of those index was read by the algorithm, which gave us a heads up before upcoming volatility. And also in April, when you see this map for the next 7 days, you understand that something is wrong with the market, and maybe you should consider maybe reduce your portfolio or maybe sell a little bit your portfolio, because we're seeing a lot of the indices here are really, really red and the volatility is up. So the algorithm also can utilize as the market intelligence tool that help us to know when the dangers are and how to avoid them. So this is for the short side of the map. And as we saw some examples from last Friday, from the top 10 universe, we find Wolf and Land that we talked about that the Oracle also bought. And if we'll check another interesting forecast, here we can find the stocks Land, PHM, and NTRA. Also, 3 of them went up, but this is just for 1 day of trading. This is a 1 week forecast. So the algorithm thinks it's going to work pretty well in the next 7 days. And just in the first day, we already see some good results from this forecast. So just a quick look for how the forecast looks like. Of course, in the original forecast, you have 10 stocks, not just the first 4. I'll just snap those to give you a quick example of the algorithm ability. All right.